So we've covered how to build relationships with faculty as an undergraduate. Now let's talk about reaching out and beginning to develop connections to faculty at other institutions. Ideally, you've been talking with the faculty who will be your recommenders about what programs and faculty to apply to. But you can also identify faculty on your own by reading their scholarly work and looking at their personal web pages to get a better idea if you would be interested in working with them and getting trained by them. But this is just the first step. When applying to graduate programs, and specifically PhD programs, it's quite important that you reach out to those faculty you've identified to make sure they are interested in working with you and that they're taking on new students. Also, it sets your application apart from other students who are applying, and you can start to see if the professor you think you want to work with is a good fit for your learning style and professional goals. Email is the best way to introduce yourself to someone who you would like to work with, and here are some things you'll want to include in your introductory email. You should start with who you are and who you have worked with as an undergraduate. Then include a brief description of your research interests. That should be followed by their research interests and why you are interested in working with them. It is great to include reference to an academic article or a current project they have posted on their website. You can conclude the email by asking a couple of questions such as if they're taking on new students and whether or not they think their program would be a good fit for your research interests. So let's take a look at an example email. Here is an actual email from a prior student to a faculty member at the University of Florida. We see that the student wrote who they were, who they've worked with, and that they are contacting the professor per a recommendation. Or you could state that you are contacting them because you read their work. The student then goes on to discuss what areas of research they're interested in, and then connects that interest into a current research project the potential faculty is conducting by naming the specific project and that their interests converge and overlap. This shows that the student has seriously taken a look at the professor and is interested in their work. They also go one step further beyond the topics of study and discuss an interest in the types of methods this professor could train them on. They then ask if they are taking on new students, and if yes, if they could list the person as a potential advisor on their personal statement. They conclude with an offer to answer questions and suggest they are open to a Zoom meeting. And finally, they've included their CV, which is a nice touch and helps demonstrate their experience. Let's talk about what you should not do. When emailing with potential faculty advisors, you should not send them too long of emails or keep sending emails. It is okay to follow up with them if you haven't heard from them in a couple weeks, but other than that, you should refrain from sending multiple emails. Also, keep that first email clear and concise with a few key details about your academic interests and training and a couple of main questions, like in the example email we just saw. Don't ask them obvious questions that you can find on the website, like application deadlines. Also, at this point of introduction, you shouldn't ask about funding or expect that they will state that they will admit you into the program. Sometimes you'll have the opportunity to connect with potential faculty either via video conferencing like Zoom or in person if you can visit campus. If the professor offers to Zoom with you, you should definitely take that opportunity as it indicates they are interested in mentoring you. You probably have already introduced yourself via email, but prepare for those meetings with a quick introduction to your academic background and training and your research interests, and perhaps how you came to those interests in case you are asked. Then, just like going to office hours, you should have a list of prepared questions and take notes on the answers. Types of questions to ask include: what is your mentorship style? How many students do you currently advise? What traits do you look for in a student you are considering advising? Then follow up with examples of how you fit those traits, if you do. What methods and research training do students in your program receive? What do you expect students to accomplish in the first year or two of the program? What types of research support is there for my project? So this could include access to computer programs, library resources, small research grants. What do other graduate students like about the program or university? Once you have finished the interaction, hopefully not only will you have impressed the professor, but also will have a better sense of whether or not you could see yourself working with them and whether or not you should actually apply to that program. It is always important to send a follow thank you email to the faculty and staff that have helped you and given you their time. This is especially true if you have met with anyone face-to-face. And if potential faculty advisors have given you a suggestion to contact someone or do something, you should do as they ask and follow up with them on the outcome. It is important to remember the world of academia is quite small, and even if you are not interested in working with someone after meeting them, you still want to leave that relationship on a good note and continue to make a good impression. It is quite likely that your paths will cross in the future.